Is this being recorded? Oh, gotcha.
There we
There
go.
it goes.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Tamara Bauman. I am one of the co-chairs of the System Performance Committee. Welcome to June's System Performance Committee meeting. I will be opening the overall meeting with the lyrics of a song, but before then, I'll pass that to Ruby to introduce herself as the other co-chair.
Thanks, Tamara. And I think, although I wish it were still June, I think it is July now.
July. My apologies.
That's okay. No, you're good. You're good. I just wanted to make sure that I was living in the correct time frame too. So we are here at the July meeting, and my name's Ruby, and I am the other co-chair of the System Performance Committee. I also sit on the COC board with Tamara. I'm going to start us out with a land acknowledgement and then go to the song. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Great, thanks, Tamara. I would like to acknowledge that we are here on the traditional unceded land of the Duwamish people and other Coast Salish tribes. It is important to note that land acknowledgement is not a new practice developed by colonial institutions. It is a traditional custom dating back centuries for many Native communities and nations. For non-Indigenous communities, land acknowledgement is a powerful way of showing respect and honoring the Indigenous peoples of the land on which we work and live. It is a simple way of resisting the erasure of the indigenous histories and working towards honoring and inviting the truth. Thanks, Tamara.
Yeah, thank you. And with that, I will go into reading the lyrics of a song called Take the Power Back by Rage Against the Machine. There are some explicit words, so I will try to replace those with bleep. Forgive me if I forget. Okay, crank the music up. Bring that shh in up. Yeah, the movement's in motion with mass militant poetry. Now check this out. In the right light, study becomes insight, but the system that dissed us teaches us to read and write. So-called facts are fraud. They want us to allege and pledge and bow down to their God. Lost the culture lost. Spun our minds, and through time, ignorance has taken over. Yo, we got to take the power back. Bam, here's the plan. Mother F, Uncle Sam. Step back, I know who I am. Raise up your ear, I'll drop the style and clear. It's the beats and the lyrics they fear. The rage is relentless. We need a movement with a quickness. You are the witness of change, and to counteract, we got to take the power back. Yeah, we got to take the power back. Come on, we got to take the power back. The present curriculum, I've put my fist in them. Eurocentric, every last one of them. See right through the red, white, and blue disguise. With lecture, I puncture the structure of lies. Installed in our minds and attempting to hold us back, we've got to take it back. Holes in our spirit causing tears and fears, one-sided stories for years and years and years. I'm inferior, who's inferior? Yeah, we need to check the interior of the system that cares about only one culture. And that is why we got to take the power back. Yeah, we got to take the power back. Come on. Hey, yo, check. We're going to have to break it down. Shh. And like this, come on. Yeah, bring it back the other way. The teacher stands in front of the class, but the lesson plan he can't recall. The student's eyes don't perceive the lies bouncing off of every effing wall. His composure is well kept. I guess he fears playing the fool. The complacent students sit and listen to some of that bullshit he learned in school. Europe ain't my rope to swing on. Can't learn a thing from it. Yet we hang from it. Gotta get it. Gotta get it together then. Let the mother effing weathermen to expose and close the doors on those who try to strangle and mangle the truth, cause the circle of hatred continues unless we react. We got to take the power back. No more lies, no more lies. Take it back, y'all. Take it back, y'all. No more lies. Take it back, y'all.
What was the name of that song, Tamara?
It's called Take the Power Back by Rage Against the Machine.
Thank you so much, Tamara. That's one of those songs that speaks near and dear to my heart, and I'm glad that you said every single last lyric on that song because you can't stop anywhere. You know?
And they're such a powerhouse, they are political, but they are such a powerhouse for like building battle cries for systems change. So that's what I have to present today. You're welcome.
Way better than the one I was going to say.
Now it's up to you.
Yeah, I think the public comment is going to be the next section on the agenda. Right. Do you want to open the forum for us, Tamara?
Yeah, actually, my apologies. I got overexcited. Are there any members in the public who would like to provide public comment today? I actually don't see any hands. I think everyone is a panelist, or it looks like that, so
Well,
I think we're good to go. Of course,
Yeah.
like anybody who wants to put chats or comments in the chat, please do so. But we'll move forward.
yes, please, Alex.
Do we, yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't done that before on this committee, but maybe
Yeah.
we should.
Okay, I didn't know for sure. I was like, I don't know if they do that, but
Please.
Oh, but thank you.
I am here to starting to support the System Performance Committee. So I'm just going off of what I do with the COC board and the CE.
Oh, appreciate you.
Okay.
Hit us with it.
Okay, let me pull it up. Okay, please say here if you are here. Tamara Bauman,
Here.
Sherry Tillman, Christina Height, Ruby Romero,
Here.
Emil Floresca,
Um, I, I believe they have an excused
okay,
absence. Am I remembering that correctly?
cool. And yeah, I am sorry if I say any of your names wrong. I will get it. I will practice. Marvin Futrell, Marvin is driving, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Christina Selwicki,
I'm here.
No, there's Mark.
thanks, Marv. Christina, Frank Schott,
Here. Here.
thanks, Frank. Ben Vaughan,
Got it right here.
thank you. Emily Riemel.
It's Rymel. Thank you. Here.
Riemel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. With 6 members present, quorum is met.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're glad to have you here supporting us at the System Performance Committee. So I believe the next section is the committee candidate recruitment update. Daniel, did you want to lead that?
Yes, thank you for that, Ruby. The candidate recruitment plan, we still have 3 open slots for our committee. With that, we've received some applications this month, and we're going to leave it open to get a few more applications so that we can review those for the August committee. So we'll send that out in next month's packet, the final applicants, and then we'll do like we did for Frank and Ben. You two already jump right into voting on new members for the group. Just a reminder there, I did send this to Ben and Frank, and this goes to all SPC committee members. You also need to be a general member of the COC board. And thank you, Tamara, for reminding that of the group today. This is just general membership. You wouldn't be on the board or anything. It's just to be a formal member of the COC. And so with that, yeah, we're leaving the applications open here for another month to see what we get. And please add Ruby and Tamara if I've missed anything there.
Just the application process is found. So I believe it's that we have an application available on the website, or anyone can express interest by sending Daniel or myself or Tamara an email, and we can point you in the right direction for those applications. And I would encourage anybody that's interested in metrics and data, how we're measuring what we're doing and how to evaluate what we're doing as really important work. So I encourage anyone that's a COC member to join, or to join the COC and become a member.
Ruby, yes, thank you for that. We try to make that application process as accessible as we can. So by any means, please let us know if you have interest, or if someone in your network has interest, they can go to the website or email any one of us. So next up on the agenda, we have our Bitfocus team. that's here today. There's some HMIS updates and some work plan and staffing updates. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Stephanie.
Awesome. First, before I dive into my slides, I just wanted to take a chance to introduce Melissa. I have taken another position over at Bitfocus, so I'll be working with y'all in a different capacity, but Melissa's taking over as the senior admin over here, and so she'll be with you in the future months. And so, Melissa, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself if you'd like to.
Hi, everybody. My name is Melissa Sutton. As Stephanie said, I will be helping support King County in their HMIS implementation. A little bit about me. I love Rage Against the Machine, so shout out. Posted the video, the YouTube link. I have been working within social services for about 11 years, blended between homeless services, legal services, and youth services. I've been with Bitfocus for almost 4 years. I have been a senior admin for a lot of communities across the country. And prior to joining Bitfocus, I was an HMIS agency lead for one of the larger nonprofits in Alameda County, California. And so I've been a part of lots of committees. So I really appreciate this and really appreciative to be invited here. So it's nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have Melissa join y'all. All right, let me share my slides. They are short and sweet today. Let me just realize I don't have them on the right view. Hold on a second. Oh, okay.
Stephanie, if I could, we have some new members. Would you be willing to give just an overview of the Bitfocus team and what you support?
Yeah, for sure. So currently but soon to be Melissa, will be basically the system administrators of our HMIS. So we do the backend configurations, like when a new program needs to be set up for data entry, we're setting that up in the background. We're also very collaborative. We help with federal reporting. We help with systems planning. So if you all are voting like that something needs to occur within the HMIS, like we help decide how that could look or provide solutions there. So we're very much involved with the data, both on how it gets into the system and how it exits the system, and we help with reporting in that way. We very much work as a team with Daniel and Janelle and the team over at KCRHA. We meet with them several times a week, and what you may hear about is some of the bigger projects we work on, and the one we're working on right now is the inventory enhancement project. So yeah, it's very much collaborative, and it's mostly to do with the back end side of the HMIS, but also reporting out the data. Daniel, do you feel like I missed anything? You can add it in if you, okay, cool. I just want to make sure. All right, so for July, just doing our quick stats. So to give an idea of our system size right now, currently in King County's HMIS, we have 149 active agencies, and within those 149 active agencies, they are operating 661 individual programs. So quite a bit of activity going on. There are 1,488 active users right now. This number fluctuates month to month, just depending on what's going on. And in the last month, I think June 15th to July 15th, we had just under 10,000 logins into the system. So lots of movement going on. We also wanted to talk a little bit about where we are with the work plan, but I thought that I would show that some of the focus areas that we had for Q2 are kind of flowing into Q3 as well. July is the first month of Q3, so this will change as we go on, but for the month of July, we are continuing to work to support the go live for the inventory project. Right now, Joel is at an office hours session where we're helping agency leads and different providers clean up their data to get ready for that go live date later in August. We will also be performing our COC-wide annual deduplication. This is really an effort that we do every year to ensure that clients that may have multiple profiles within the HMIS, those get merged together so that there's the one source of truth for that client. So all their histories on their one profile. And then we are also having, well, we do this every year, but annually, every year between July 1st and September 30th, we have all of the HMIS end users, that 1,488 users. They're required to retake the privacy and security training to make sure that they're up to date on those compliance in making sure we keep our clients' data secure. We also have agency leads and security officers at that time do a check of all client-facing computers to make sure that they are also following the security compliance. So those are the main focus areas for Q3. And let me see, I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and I'll also talk that we are also going to be starting to plan the annual user satisfaction survey. That won't go out until later. We're still depending on like picking a date, but we're going to start to plan and review those questions, make sure that there's utility in the questions that we're asking our end users. And I believe Daniel has started to look at that. And so as a team, we'll start to plan what this year's survey will look like as well here soon. I think that's all I have for y'all today, but ready to take questions if you have any.
Hi, Stephanie, this is Ruby. I was just wondering a little bit about, so you mentioned that there's fluctuation in like how many logins there is, but I've noticed that it seems to be like, it seems like maybe we lost a couple of programs and or what, they're not in HMIS anymore. And I was just wondering if you could maybe speak to why that number is different over the time. Or
yeah. So sometimes funding sources will end, or like a program had been left open while it was getting cleaned up. So there's a whole bunch of different reasons. It didn't fluctuate too much from last month. I think only like 2 programs might have closed. And I can't remember off the top of my head as to the reasons why, but we also had a couple program merges. So that could be the reason why. Like they were operating as 2 different programs, but now the grant's been consolidated, so it's 1 program. So if you want a full analysis, I can definitely do that for you, but there's a lot of different reasons why that might happen.
No, that's great. I just needed a little context as to kind of what some of the things were, because not working in like how we're observing that, how those things are kind of coming together. So I'm just trying to understand a little bit more. And that was a great definition. I don't think you need to do a full audit on it. So
Okay. If you decide you're interested, let me know.
All right, I will. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to add a little bit to that as well. This is Janelle here with KCRHA's. Whenever there is a change where a program is coming or leaving, that all gets approved through me and Daniel's shop. So we review it, we check with whatever funder, we make sure that the program is will be configured correctly. If we're closing it, we make sure that all funders and everyone is aware that the program is closing, and then Stephanie and her team work to make sure that everything is closed in accordance to HUD standards.
Thanks. Thank you for that clarification too. Thank you.
Hey, Stephanie, this is Frank. I'm one of the new guys on the block. Is there any, so sorry if this has already been answered, but is there any roadmap for Q4 and beyond?
Yeah, actually every year we put together like an annual work plan. And so we plan each quarter out and like what the main topics will be for those quarters. And then the System Performance Committee votes that in. Some things get moved around like as the year goes on, but I'll make sure to send out the full work plan so that you can see it, because being new, you may not have already.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
Stephanie, can you also send out the training plan as well to Frank? So he has that as well. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I would just like to flag that maybe we could send that to Ben if Ben would like it as well. That's our new committee member as well. If Ben, I'm speaking for Ben though, so I don't know. Ben, do you want it?
I am a HMIS user, so if it's different than that, then yes, I'd like that.
What if I give it to Daniel, and then Daniel, if you just want to redistribute it, like it's just a mid-year check-in. Here's the work plan as it stands currently. You can see where things might have moved from the beginning of the year, and you can see the training plan, and then everybody can have it.
That's great, Stephanie. Yeah, why don't you do that and take a look, make sure it's updated and what you need to. I'll probably send that out maybe Monday. That works for you. Okay, Great. Well, with that, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to the next section of the agenda. I'm going to share my screen. Today, we're going to be looking at the new inventory management system in the HMIS. I'll give a presentation on the background, what it is, and then today ask the committee members to please vote on adopting changes to our policy and procedure manual and recommend that those changes be approved through the COC board. With that, I'll go ahead and share my screen and get us started on that presentation. And I'm hoping to, I'll just say, I'm hoping to that this group, as I'm giving the presentation, please write down any questions you have, any thoughts or consideration. This will also be a chance for you to deliberate on the proposal here. Let's see. And I'm hoping y'all can see this. Can I get like a thumbs up, Stephanie, if you can see this? Okay, great. So to be clear, what we're voting on here is to recommend that agencies manage the inventory in HMIS in an updated way than they had before, and then sending that recommendation to the COC board to approve. The background here, and Janelle, please do feel free to unmic if there's anything here that I've missed. Janelle has been the driver for this really, really important update in our system over the last year and a half. So she's really shepherded most of this work forward with the help of several different teams that she's led. Ultimately, what we have here is we have what you see on the left there is the current, although we're in a transition period, this was the most current way in which we were tracking beds and units in the HMIS. So there is a requirement from HUD that we know the inventory of all of the programs in the system. What this does is it goes from getting that information quarterly to getting that in real time. It's a dynamic tracking of units and beds. You can see in there that each one of these domains has a new process there, and we'll go over what the changes are in the data quality improvement plan so that we can reinforce the use of this this management system and get everyone to adhere to the new requirements. This also provides clearer guidance for providers on how to do this work, which wasn't as explicit as it will be now. So it'll really help providers clearly identify what their roles and responsibilities are with the new inventory management system. And all of these changes keep us HUD compliant. I think that's really important for this committee to know. And none of this puts us out of compliance. In fact, it just puts us in a better spot to understand availability and ultimately better matching for clients in the end to interventions. I just wanted to show this quick screenshot here. This is the inventory module dashboard. I just want to highlight that we're really coming from a space where inventory was a table in the HMIS that we kept up to date. Now it is a live dashboard that providers can go in, look at their units, see how they're configured, ensure that they are posting availability, and they can see all those analytics on this dashboard here. I want to thank the Bitfocus Pro team and all of the folks who helped to shape this dashboard into what it is now. And the governance process, oops, little typo there. So today we're going to be voting on the improvements to the data quality improvement plan that outline the new procedures. The Coordinated Entry Committee, also to help reinforce this work, is voting to recommend changes as well. They're the similar changes to their policies and procedures. And then the COC board vote is August 7th for that, which will enshrine all of this permanently in the data quality improvement plan. So I'm going to jump right in. This is kind of a lot to take in. But I do want to go through this so that everyone understands what the changes are. So there's a new section in our data quality improvement plan. This really is focused on ensuring that people enter data in accordance to the requirements of HUD, so that the data there ought to be complete, timely, and accurate. And so we've made updates to those different sections, as well as adding this entirely new section, which is the HMIS Inventory Management. So I'll read this. HUD requires that every COC track its bed inventory in the HMIS to be in federal compliance. This language is now, that's just explicit in there. So it's clear that this is so that we maintain our compliance. And to account for the complexity of this system, inventory workflow will be entered using one of two HUD compliance systems. And here we have the traditional inventory system and the live inventory system. So the traditional system tracks bed and units, but are not connected to program enrollments. This system is used for housing, shelter, and transitional programs that provide specialized care in which there is not a designated HUD HMIS program type that meets the particular service delivery model. Think of diversion programs. And night-by-night shelters will also use the traditional inventory system, which already connects bed nights to inventory through a program service. The live inventory system, and again, this is now written to our policy and procedure here. The system is the main system used in King County and connects beds, units, slots of the inventory to the head of household enrollments. Agencies will manage their beds, units, and slots, designating them active, inactive, offline as appropriate. Heads of households will be connected to a bed, unit, slot for the program they currently reside in. So really, zooming out here, what this is doing is essentially saying, rather than you just telling us your beds and units and slots, we now want those linked to individuals, so we know occupancy and availability, and that agencies will be updating those bed and unit inventory as active or inactive, because that really is the second larger point here, is linking them to enrollments and then ensuring that we know what is available. With that, I'm going to pause. Janelle, is there anything you want to add to this?
Nope, that's good, Daniel.
The next one in the sections that I had mentioned earlier, data completeness and data timeliness are the two that are most connected to this particular body of work now. So we've been, and I want to thank Janelle as well for reviewing this and adding this addition here. For the data completeness, there is a table in the document, and this asks that providers track their inventory live in the system at the household level. So this is for the head of household, and that the margin of error should be no more than 5%. So if they don't know the slot or the unit or the bed. However, with that said, the way that it's done now, there really is not a lot of room for error. We've made improvements and accessibility to the system, so it should be pretty straightforward for them to enter that in pretty complete there. And then not to try to be sneaky here, but we did add in race and ethnicity. Janelle brought this to my attention. This is wholly separate from the inventory, but I added it here. This is just an adjustment on our data quality plan. HUD back in October updated race and ethnicity to be one category. So we're just bringing into alignment with HUD there. So that's why you see race and ethnicity there. Used to be two separate fields. It's now one. And the margin of error there, 5%, stayed the same. So don't know, refused, shouldn't exceed 5% for those collecting race and ethnicity. Back to inventory, this is the data timeliness. So essentially, we're moving to a dynamic real-time inventory. So you'll see that here in this table. And this applies to all housing programs. This is shelters, transitional housing programs, or permanent supportive housing programs. And within 2 business days of intake, the bed unit slot assignment needs to be entered. So we're really asking that agencies put this information as soon as they know, but no less than within no more than 2 business days. For data integration agencies, so this is for new members and for those that are not that familiar, we have agencies that enter into the HMIS directly. That's the preferred practice. We also have other agencies that use their own data systems where we push that information into our HMIS on the back end. And for those agencies, we also wanted to give clear guidance. And so in the policy and procedure manual here, we ask agencies participating in data integration are expected to enter data into their own data system in a manner that complies with timeliness and completeness expectations. Agencies are required to upload all data elements into HMIS. That's the standard language. The new language there in red for programs with inventory, bed, unit, slot assignment, or changes will happen directly in HMIS. Client HMIS ROI consent forms must be directly uploaded unless verbal consent was given. That first section there, once that data is uploaded into the HMIS, they'll need to go in and update the bed and unit assignments. And then that second section is just clarifying for agencies that get release of information for the clients that they serve, that they upload those to the HMIS. I know this is very wordy, folks. This is the actual procedures that are written into the manual there. So very clear here, all programs, oops, that should just say all agency programs are expected to participate in the inventory management of units and beds, and will use the following processes. For those doing coordinated entry bed configuration, providers with contractually obligated coordinated entry beds shall specify the building units beds that are CE participating. This ensures beds are properly designated in the system for coordinated entry. So for those of you that are maybe somewhat familiar or not familiar at all, there are the coordinated entry system run through KCRHA matches individuals to interventions, aka beds and units, and we need to know which beds and units are going through that coordinated entry process for that matchmaking. So we'll be requiring providers to designate which units are participating in coordinated entry. Manage building and unit bed activation and deactivation. Agencies will enable or disable building and unit beds within the HMIS, clearly indicating which units are presently active or inactive. This ensures up-to-date and precise information regarding available units and beds. For this system to work, we need to know what's active and inactive, what's online and offline, basically, with beds. And then the real enhancement here is linking enrollments to units and beds. Agencies will link enrollments of the head of household to specific units and beds at the time of enrollment within the HMIS. And again, data integration agencies will have to link enrollments to units after each data transfer and will exit clients from units from each exit in port. This linkage is crucial for knowing the availability of inventory. So this is again for those agencies that do the data uploads for us. They like all the other providers, they have the same work to do of linking those enrollments. And then referrals and enrollment linkage. Referrals will be linked to enrollments to properly assign clients to units and beds. This is important to facilitate client placement and service coordination. So this is just linking those referrals to enrollments. And then adding units and beds and configurations, and editing current unit and beds. Agencies will inform and request new building and units and beds to be configured by KCRHA and our Bitfocus team. Agencies can edit already configured buildings and units and beds. So once we add them, the providers can manage the configuration of that on their own. But we are going to be the ones to look at those and then approve those new buildings or sites in that. And that's just a really good gate so that we can make sure and ensure that what we're configuring is done appropriately and properly. And that really is it. Yeah, let's open this up to questions.
I'm new, sorry. And so I was wondering, so let's just say there's two main subsidies for like units and beds in King County, SHA and COC. Are they both going to, like, are we talking, will this also work for SHA beds or only COC beds? Is it like, do you understand what I'm asking?
Uh, I think so. You're talking about housing authority beds?
Yeah. So basically, so I work at DE. Well, I mostly work at PDA, but I a little bit work at DESE. And so like usually the beds and units that we have are funded either by the COC or SHA. And the subsidy is tied directly to the bed or to the unit. And I'm wondering if in the HMIS system, like the live tracking is available for any bed or just for COC beds?
This one, I'm gonna punt to Janelle, but I will say that we have sent out workbooks to each one of the providers that have gone through and designated that. I can't, Ben, recall if I believe we got everything back from DESC. So that may be an offline, like kind of technical in the weeds question. But with that, I'll hand it over to Janelle.
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. No, no worries. It's a very good question. And that's one of the benefits of the inventory project is you can actually link the funding to the unit. And so that that way, if there are changes, you know, we can make those adjustments. And all of the beds that that are in the HMIS, regardless if they go through coordinated entry or what particular funding source, will be under the new live inventory, except for the exception of the night-by-night shelters and some of the other exceptions that we talked about, like diversion programs. So, so all of those will go through if they're already existing in the HMIS. There won't be public housing units or particular SHA if they're not homeless designated, you know, units or yeah, if they're not already designated as a SHA voucher program or voucher or a SHA, it's just like public housing. Your general run-of-the-mill public housing won't be in the HMIS. It'd just be things that are already existed in the HMIS that will go through here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good question, Ben.
And that's very useful. Like I have heard people talking about this recently, like trying to figure out a way to like track live beds. So it's really exciting that that was already in the works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we did get the workbooks back from DESC. We're working on configuring all of those to be ready for the go live date. Yeah.
Yeah, this Ben, this really represents a milestone for the community and the communities that we serve. Having real-time bed inventory is going to add transparency to the work that's being done, improve coordination, and overall just enhance the service delivery across the board. Any other questions? Ruby, Tamara?
Yeah. Tamara, did you have a question at all? No? Okay.
This is Frank. I have a question. So I totally can see or imagine why this would be a good end result to arrive at. To what extent were in the program design phase and was this vetted with the agencies who actually have to make it happen? Because I think if I read between the lines, we're asking people to do things differently and do them faster. And so to what extent are the agencies bought into this and say, yeah, we can do that?
Yeah, Frank, I can talk a little bit about that. So this is a culmination of about 18 months of work. And so we have started stakeholder engagements, I believe, I think January of last year. And particular agencies were also part of some of the planning, such as DESC and CCS and Mary's Place, to kind of help configure what the custom questions and what the workflow would look like. There is many meetings that Stephanie and her team had facilitated in the design of it, and training and ongoing communication with the agencies, and facilitation through the whole process of getting many series of workbooks back, and then doing a series of trainings, and then workbooks back to be able to configure all of the units. And so during that time, we've been able to go back to the providers and show them a little bit more of what we would be doing. The core work group was comprised of both KCRHA, City of Seattle, and DCHS to help provide that feedback that we then were able to give to providers to react to. The information and the custom questions that we configured came from our regional services database, requirements from coordinated entry of that they've had for a long time, and from our housing needs form that the community helped to put together. As we put this together and move forward, we continue to provide opportunities for training, such as the office hours going on right now, and individual technical meetings to help support the agencies through this change. And we'll continue to do that next year. We are already planning a review session of sort of the first few months of the inventory project to start to go through some of the custom questions, et cetera, and get some feedback on how those are working or not working.
Okay, thank you.
And some of this, it does, I'm seeing Elizabeth's question here. Is there any incentive or reward for filling this data daily? It's hard to explain it in a way that when there is automation, we have put automations in place. So for example, the referral link from coordinated entry that Daniel talked about, there's not actually a like a process where you would do that or link there. So when you enroll someone that has gotten a referral from coordinated entry for a particular open unit, it automatically enrolls that person into the unit when you're doing your enrollment like you normally would. So when there is automations, we have put those in place. When we've been able to allow grace periods, we've put those in place. When we've, allowed for additional access roles, we've put those in place to make sure that the data entry burden is as small as possible, and that they're able to review their reports quickly, enter the data, make the changes themselves. And really what we're trying to do is empower the agencies to manage their inventory. They know their system better than we could ever know it. And so updating their access rules to update their inventory and configure it in a live way is something that we want to give to the providers for them to be able to manage. And this is the only way for us to be able to do that. And so I think that there's going to be a huge cost benefit to that. And for the data integration agencies, there is some additional enrollment which can be done when they're doing their linkage. And we're actively working with the Bitfocus team to find ways that we can improve that. And so we'll see that, and you'll see that as we kind of start working later in fourth quarter on the 2025 HMIS work plan of working towards ways to improve that data integration process, so that those pieces can be put in place. So Bitfocus has already been working on some solutions to make it work a little bit better for our data integration agencies too.
Yeah, one thing I would add to that is, I think, did Elizabeth ask about incentive there? Was that the incentive, I think, right, to do the data entry daily? Was that what I was hearing? I wasn't clear on the question that Elizabeth asked. Okay.
That was the question.
Cool. I would just say that data quality and completeness is a part of the the notice of funding opportunity, application process and evaluating that. So they would score better in that area if they are doing it to the best extent that they can. I guess that would be the incentive I could see. The other thing I did have a question is this seems to be like a pretty major change to our system. So that's really good. And I think you guys did a great job working hard on this. I was just, and thanks Frank for asking about the process there on the community stakeholders. I was also just curious where the System Performance Committee came into play on this. Just because I know we heard about it quite a few times just in discussion, and I just was wondering if there was any point where we were able to put input in, if I maybe missed that. And then also I was just curious if maybe we could speak to because it does seem like an effective tool, and I'm just a little concerned about what happens when all the units are filled, and then what will the tool be usable for? Because I'm just worried about the amount of units that we have and the amount of people that we think are, or that we have calculated to be experiencing homelessness in King County don't really mirror each other. So yeah, if you could just speak to other usages that this might be beneficial for. Thanks, Janelle.
If I could, Janelle, I just to kind of preamble, is that all the requirements gathering over the last 18 months and the stakeholder engagement, it was also precipitated by the objectives outlaid in the 5-year plan, which was a community-driven plan by our sub-regional planners and planners. And in that plan, Section 8I, that plan explicitly states that one of the objectives is to create real life inventory. So backing up from the 18 months of work here, it's also a guiding objective in our 5-year plan. That said, Janelle, I don't know if you want to take the rest of that.
Yeah, and I apologize, Ruby. I haven't been able to sit on the agendas here for a few months, so I'm not quite sure how up to speed we've been giving to this committee or decision-making powers in this committee, other than to approve this project, which was approved in January of last year. And we've been continuing to kind of make progress in that per the direction of the committee. I'm definitely hearing some feedback that it might have been better to, bring some more key decisions to this committee along the process. And so we can definitely take that back and work on that within our team, how we present different projects here to the committee. The benefit to the providers, as I've been meeting with them, have been articulating some benefits that they're excited for of being able to better link, the bed to, the client or the household, and really get more of that accurate unit information. This is very challenging for us to know the utilization for situations such as households, because the inventory sits over here and the program enrollments sit over here in the system, and then coordinated entry sits over here. And so what that will happen is, like you said, in the program roster, I'm showing that they're at capacity. And then, the beds and units haven't been updated maybe, or something like that. And then, but they're posting for coordinated entry saying we can take another client in our program. And so then, we're looking at the data and we're like, but this doesn't make any sense. It looks like all your beds are filled. Why are you posting a unit? And what this will allow them to do is to better manage those units and connect them to a particular client, and then see in real time, what their inventory is looking like. And then that's going to flag them oh, I need to make a change in that inventory and add a unit, or a client needs to be exited that didn't get exited. And I need to go back to the program staff and be able to, update our program rosters to make sure that they're accurate. And so this is going to basically connect all of those pieces in the HMIS so that we're functioning on like one source of truth of what, as a system, our inventory is looking like in a way that we've never been able to do before. Because right now we update the inventory once a year, really, for the housing inventory count, making sure that that's accurate. But unless the providers can remember to notify us and make changes throughout the year, it doesn't get updated. And so this will enable them to have that line of sight and that visibility to be able to look at their inventory and make their adjustments or notify us if they need to add or delete units in a way that they haven't been able to before. And adding that level of transparency is just so important for our system, so that everyone's looking at the same numbers. They'll also be able to indicate offline reasons, which will give our system some really important information as to what's happening with particular units. So say they have a unit offline for turnover, or there was a fire and they had a, it's offline for a longer reason. We'll know that. And instead of right now, all we know is like they're underutilized, for example, like they're at 50% utilization right now. Why? I don't know.
Right.
But then they'll be able to say like, we had a flood or something. They can type that in and we can see that in real time of like what's going on with their inventory. So it'd be used as a communication tool as well. And we're linking the custom questions that they've been filling out for their bed and unit inventory in their buildings with the housing needs form. And so that information will help to inform the coordinated entry team when they're making those matches. If someone is indicating in their housing needs form, I really don't want to live in a particular neighborhood, for example. Well, I have that question on the units and the building screens. So then coordinated entry can kind of pause and be like, hey, this person really doesn't want to move in this neighborhood. Maybe we don't offer them this area, or like, hey, case manager, can you go back and check with them? Because we're seeing that they're saying this and we want to make sure it's the correct match. And so pushing those conversations at the time of nominations of those units is in theory, hopefully it will kind of help spur some conversations and be able to really give that client knowledge about that unit. So like we can say like Plymouth is saying, some people don't want the units because there's a bathroom down the hall and, someone doesn't want to do that. They don't want a bathroom down the hall. Well, we're not waiting until they get to Plymouth to sign their paperwork. You can then say like, this particular building only has bathrooms down the hall. I've tracked that in the system. So someone can tell them that, and then they can have a conversation and make sure that that's going to work for them. If not, then we'll wait and get them a unit that will work better for them,
Yeah. Wow. That's a great explanation, really in depth. And I appreciate that we're starting to see actual, like the client's voice being heard in the actual data. That's great. We've been looking to marry those two things for quite some time. So I thank you for that. I did want to say that maybe it could even show the utilization, or not the utilization, but the needs. If we're having a more accurate count, then we'll know a little bit, how far off we are based off of the point in time count, estimation that we did and things like that. And maybe that can help facilitate narrative change. So
yep, we can do some gap analysis and we can do some comparison from the pic. So there's a lot of things. And so I think as we have the information now and we're working with the providers to get it kind of cleaned up, and then next year we can kind of come back with, some like preliminary results of like, hey, this is kind of like what's going on with their system, how it's functioning. And I think that's gonna be really important information for you guys to have here.
I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the time and allowing me to talk to the committee about this project.
Thank you, Janelle. I just want to say one thing Janelle and I have talked about, and she's brought up several times, is emergency beds, permanent beds. these really are our number one and most critical assets to helping to solve and end homelessness in our region. And having this level of visibility on all those beds and units is really going to improve what we do with our intervention. So any other questions? So with that, I don't have it in the agenda, but I do want to take a 5-minute break. I've sent the committee members the link to the poll page to vote on this. I'd like to let's reconvene at, let's say, let's go with 3:10. For the committee members on this call, please check your email. If you don't see the link, let me know in the chat and I'll send it to you directly. Put the email address you want me to send it to. But let's go ahead and pause now and let's go to the link. Committee members, please put in your vote, and we'll see everyone back at 3:10. Just checking in. Emily. I do have 4 responses coming through. Marvin, I don't see your vote in.
I'm working on it. I just stopped so I can type it in. Give me a sec.
Oh, thank you.
Daniel, is this a yes, no, or are we actually choosing something?
It's a yes, no.
Thank
Would
you,
we be
Ruby.
able to, yeah, if you're having trouble accessing the form, would we be able to take a voice quote from Marvin or?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to suggest it, Marvin.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that.
All right.
Okay, it's 3:11. I'd like to bring us back to the meeting. So with the quorum that we have today, that's a total of 5 yeses and 1 abstention. That means that it is approved to go to the COC board for final approval. So thank you all for taking the time to listen to the presentation, learning about the inventory, and then casting your vote. Really appreciate everybody. With that, I'm gonna move to the next section of the agenda. And bear with me here, I just need to switch screens.
While you're switching screens, I just want to say that that's really cool work that everybody did over there at the KCRHA with this. I'm really excited to see the everything come to fruition from it, and I'm hoping that it does work the way that we forecast it to. So thank you guys.
Yeah, Ruby, and there was a question in there that you asked, which is what do we do when it's full? I think on the sort of the configuration and technical end, that's where the community impact team kind of hands that off. But now we'll know, which is the really exciting part.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we've gotten that part done. And I'm going to go over review the governance matrix. So for Ben and Frank and Emily, I can't recall if you've been here for previous well, we've looked at the governance matrix. It's been, I think, 2 months since we have, just with everything else that we've had on our agendas. This is where we look at the HMIS lead, which is what we are designated at KCRHA on the community impact team. That's Janelle and myself. We ensure that we're in compliance with the HMIS lead, what they call matrix. And that's really where we just look at what we're responsible for and are we meeting that expectation. So I'm going to share my screen, and this is going to be probably the shortest PowerPoint you've seen all week. Let's see. Okay. Hang on, folks. Hang on. There we go. Okay, so this is very timely because Janelle was talking about this earlier. This is 3.2 of the HMIS governance matrix. And what we do here is we look to see what HUD says that we should be doing and whether or not we are doing it. And for this one, if this is under the system administration section, has the HMIS lead implemented project setup and data collection guidance per HUD and federal partner program HMIS manuals. So when we have a project like an emergency shelter, HUD expects a certain amount of data to be collected. There's universal data, which is what most of you would think of as demographic information, as well as some other pieces there, but mostly demographic, and that includes personal identifying information where that's given, so name, social security, age, race, ethnicity, that information. And then there are program-specific data collection or data elements that we collect. This is things like income, current living situation, any services that may be required depending on the funding source. And the answer to that question is yes. The HMIS, Janelle and myself, the HMIS lead reviews the HUD standards. We look at the project types and the funding source to ensure that we're collecting data. Now we do, with the help of our COAD team at Bitfocus, Stephanie, now Melissa, they do that configuration on the back end. But as the HMIS lead, we review each and every project weekly that comes in. And then where we need to, we gather more information. If the funding source is not clear, or if the project type is a little funny, is this a diversion project? Is this a rapid rehousing project? Is it a rental prevention project? So we do look at that. And yes, we do ensure that we are collecting data per our HMIS program funding and manuals. Any questions about that? So this is a standard item on our agenda typically, where we just go through and just throughout the year ensuring that we're meeting the expectations and responsibilities as the HMIS lead. So with that, I'll stop sharing. And then flip the agenda. The next on the agenda is the Coordinated Entry Committee. This is a standing agenda item. I checked in with that committee. They didn't have any updates for us this month. I will say, though, that we are on an ongoing work with our team, helping them to do a coordinated entry evaluation of their system, as well as they are working on updating their policy and procedure manuals so that they're in alignment with the new inventory management system in the HMIS. Next up on that, agency onboarding updates. Oh, excuse me. I skipped one there. Ruby, would you like to give us some updates on the NOFO workgroup and the COC board updates, please?
Sure, definitely. Thanks for the time to speak to the board today and members of the public for coming. We just wanted to give a few updates surrounding the notice of funding opportunity process. So to give some context, I know we have some new members in case we hadn't mentioned that already, not to highlight that again, but just to give some context, the COC board, which the System Performance Committee does sit underneath, to evaluate the HMIS, is the NOFO process. And what this is we handle the funding from HUD under the COC program. So what this is every year, or it has been yearly, all the agencies that receive funding will apply for that funding, and then they go through what's called a rating and ranking process in order to get the funds distributed. And so in one way that we have to do this is the evaluation from the HUD metrics that we've kind of talked about here in the committee, and I'm sure we'll go into those more in depth soon. Again, the system performance measures. But so other than those, we also have other portions like housing first narrative and racial equity and inclusion, diversion, inclusion, and equity. Portion of their application as well. And so what we did on the NOFO work group was kind of go through that application, also the metrics that will be, or the rubric that will be evaluating program, excuse me. And so just got the 2024 rating and key indicators that we had drafted in the work group passed by the COC board, which is good. Although the NOFO hasn't dropped yet, it's important to have these, the application and the rubric done beforehand. So we're still waiting to hear when the NOFO is dropping. I believe it should be any day now if it hasn't dropped yet. We got another meeting tomorrow about that. So the work group members, we have a few on the call today too. Maybe they can speak to their experience as well. But I feel like we did with some good work with adding more points to the evaluation process. So the rating and key indicators is what it's called. We added, I think almost 30 to 40 points. So it kind of gets a little bit more nuance into the programs and what they are offering and how they are applying and what their answers might include. I've felt in my experience as a rater that sometimes it's not very defined as to it's very yes or no. And so we wanted to try and get away from the binary or less, more ability to choose, give some evaluation and feedback on what they're actually offering in these programs. And since we haven't done the rebid yet, we were just kind of trying to preemptively think of what sort of things we want to see in the evaluation during a rebid. And try and, start to align people in these specific directions. Because one thing that HUD does is they put in bonus points for things that they're going to be probably putting as a definite on the application the following year. So we kind of mirrored that in having a few things like adding the ability to a blank line for pronouns instead of offering the types of pronouns that someone could have. They just leave it blank. So maybe the person could put in whatever their pronouns are, things like that we think could facilitate a little bit more inclusion across the board and make people feel more welcome when going into these programs. So that's kind of what we've been working on. Originally, we were meeting weekly. We've brought it down to just bi-weekly, meeting once every other week. And once the NOFO drops is kind of when we're going to have the crazy fiesta. I guess Kelsey would probably call it a fiesta of work to do. So we're excited for that. And we're going to have the rating and ranking, or the rater and we're going to have the rater positions open. So you can go apply for that as well on the COC board's website. That's going to be a key place for any community members, COC members to get involved. People with lived experience, living experience. We encourage those with living experience, receiving services from these programs to be a part of this process. Maybe they would have to have a conflict of interest there on that particular thing. But anyway, you get the point. So what I'm trying to say is we want to incorporate as many community members as possible in evaluating these programs so we can really start to see what they are offering to our community. And this is important to know as we go into the next fiscal year and into our system rebid. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Like I said, we're waiting for the NOFO to drop, but we'll still expect the applications to be needed to put in by the end of September. So it's a short deadline, but we're going to make it happen. And that's a major part of the COC board's scope of work. So that's really good that it's heavy hitting and we got the boots to the ground on that. The other thing is that the COC board, we have recently got some new board members as well. And so we're really excited to be welcoming those people into our space and work with them on these really hard hitting issues. We also have the cross-cutting policy work group that's going to be closing its applications here soon. And we're going to get started. There's a few things, items that we need to work on there. One thing we're going to focus on is trying to just facilitate, relationships and what the community is expecting from the, elected officials, and hopefully trying to foster those kinds of connections and incorporate council members if they would like to be involved. So any member of the SPC could apply for that as well. So those are kind of my, the next COC board meeting is going to be August 7th, where we just mentioned we're going to be voting on this real-time bed inventory policy and procedure updates. So hopefully, anyone that can join us then, we'd love to hear from the public too. And it'll be August 7th, which is the first Wednesday of the month. And it's from 2 to 4 p.m. So we hope to see you there. I think those are my updates. I might be missing something. Tamara, Elizabeth, I know you guys are both on the board. If I missed anything, please let me know.
No, that very much sounds like what I know. And thank you for that.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Ruby. I did, for those that are not all that familiar, and I'm thinking of our newest members, notice of funding opportunity, NOFO, notice of funding opportunity. And that really is a reapplication for the Continuum of Care, COC, funding each year. And I think maybe Ruby, you said that. I'm not sure if I picked up on it, so sorry if I'm being redundant there, but just
No,
for the
it's
large.
good to reiterate it. It's good to reiterate it. I don't know if I said what NOFO meant, so I appreciate any sort of breaking down of acronyms.
And then with the great work of Ruby and Tamara and others, looking at that and then ranking who gets funding, who rating on their performance and then ranking on the funding. So thank you
And
for that work, Ruby.
if I could just add, that based on my experience of participating in that work for the past 3-ish years, it is super fun. But more importantly, this is where I think we can have some influence over the well-being of our communities by rating according to our values, rating according to the COC's values and priorities. And as we on the System Performance Committee work to develop new local metrics for measuring well-being and how well projects are delivering on that to their clientele or the people that they're serving, that's the direction that I'm hoping we're all on board and going, by creating healthier communities and embedding the well-being framework into our system. I think we'll only just create a healthier community overall, but also I want to demonstrate to our local governments, to their nonprofits, to the philanthropists of the world that we can do things more equitably and still be successful. It does not have to be driven by capitalist, ideology or traditional ways of doing things. We have to rate and measure according to what we value as a community. And I don't think anyone could argue against the universal reality that we all are hardwired to pursue things that support our well-being, healthcare, like housing, all that stuff. We all need those things. So I would like to see in like how projects are actually operationalizing anti-racism in their operations. How are they actually incorporating trauma-informed care into their service delivery? Are they actually like offering interpreter services? I want to see how those things are being carried out on the daily. So that's where I feel like I can contribute to the well-being and the well-being of my community, but is by looking at how projects are doing the work and if they are actually in alignment with the values and priorities of the larger continuum. So it's exciting and it's really fun and it's meaningful. So if you are interested, please join, because I've learned a lot over the years that I've been doing that. So take advantage if you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it also evaluates to what extent, because I think that it's important to get off that binary mindset or just one or two options. It's very important to say, well, we're doing it to what extent, and that's a really important thing to not punish if they're not doing it to the full extent, but they have some of it, and I want to stay cognizant of the people doing the work to what extent, so thanks for that, Tamara. Is there any questions on that stuff? Okay. I'm not hearing any or seeing any, Daniel. I think I hand it back over to you.
Great. I just want to say thank you, Christina. I see you popped on. I'm so glad you could make it. We are next up on our agenda, which we're pretty on time, which is really nice, is just an update on our agency onboarding. So where are we at with that? Right now, we have agencies that are funded and required to be part of the HMIS. Those agencies continue to be onboarded and getting staff trained and getting their projects into the HMIS. We have another group of providers who are not necessarily funded, but want to participate because their work intersects with the same population, or they serve nearly the identical groups that KCRHA and emergency service providers and homeless service providers are serving. Those agencies, we will continue to update our policy and procedures. We identified some soft spots in those where I've been compiling over the last few weeks, and this is going to manifest in another update in our policy and procedures, areas where we want to be able to get this committee the information they need. Should we deny entry for one agency and they come to this committee for an appeal, that this committee gets the information and inputs they need to make an informed decision. So looking at making sure that if there's any reports or information from our Ombudsman office, that you have that information. If we have any information on previous or performance issues there, or we haven't reviewed the internal policies and procedures of an agency to see how they handle personal, private, and secure information. So making sure that all those inputs are there so that if an appeal comes to this committee, you have all the information necessary to fully evaluate an appeal. And that's really what this agenda item here is about, is updating those policies and procedures during that evaluation and appeal process for the committee. So where are we at with that? The inventory management policy and procedure took precedence this last month. As we head into next month, the co-chairs and I will be reviewing that information and getting them into the policies and procedure manual. I wanted to have and invite the larger committee to do a work group session. Not going to be able to do that primarily because the rules that govern board meetings and committee meetings would require us to have a public meeting if we were to go through that. So we're gonna be doing that work asynchronously. So having a shared document where we can get input. And if you have any thoughts on this, please feed them to the co-chairs, because they'll be the delegates to update that and bring that forward as we update the policies and procedures. Any questions about that? This is an important step. It clarifies for agencies and providers the evaluation appeal process for those that get denied entry into the HMIS. And this will help everyone know what their next steps are. So this will be really good for providers in the community and for the committee.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Daniel. Really quick, I just wanted to wonder if there'd been any thought around, like, the committee and having the buck stop there kind of a thing, if there is a decision made by the committee, just kind of like wanting to make sure that on an appeal or something like that, let's say, just making sure that we know why the decision wasn't stuck with or what have you, and just making sure the communication is there. So thank you, appreciate that update there. I know you know that, but I'm just saying it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my goal here is to just make sure that where this committee is empowered to do their work, that's clearly defined and transparent for everyone. A good experience. Want providers and others to have really good experience with this committee. So all part of that. The last piece of our agenda, which kind of glides us right to the end, is the Wellbeing Blueprint. I'm going to hand it over to you, Tamara, and if you could say a little about what you're doing there. You're really pushing it forward.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get some ideas and suggestions for what we want to measure, and like how would we know if we are actually supporting people's well-being, or let me restate that. how can we ask projects to evaluate whether they are carrying out or doing their outputs in a way that supports their service, that supports their clients' well-being? Like, what metrics would you want to see measured? I mean, this is like an iterative process. So I'm just now starting, and I have some of the the questions and prompts that Full Frame Initiative created on our behalf and sent to us. So maybe I'll start with that. I'll send that out to folks so you can look at it and hopefully have it prompt some suggestions for when we do go into the system rebid. These are the things, and for future NOFOs, like these are the kinds of things we want to look at, so that not only are we like improving the system's response to homelessness and getting people housed, but we're also changing the culture and our mindsets of how social change is created. And if we can move from a deficit-based, like pathologizing framework of you must have done something wrong to be homeless, so there's, we're gonna blame you. How can we move from that kind of mindset to a new mental model that actually like normalizes supporting well-being rather than punishing people for like what is essentially systemic failures? Like, what can we do to really change how we interact and how we are with each other, how we think, how we operate, how we legislate, everything? Because the status quo hasn't been working and homelessness is getting worse. So what if we shift the way we think to one that's more about abundance and sharing resources, and mutual aid? Why haven't we done that yet? Because we see people are literally dying on our streets. And unless public officials really start embracing and cultivating that political will to change their responses, like the ones that relate to criminalization and fining, ticketing, and jailing people who have no resources, what can we provide? Can we create a new way and show public officials this is what works? Could HUD actually look to Seattle King County as a model for doing like large scale response to like ending homelessness, but also shifting improving the conditions of our communities such that homelessness is like an anomaly? It is like a freak of nature. That's what's abnormal. And so can we change our social, cultural, political norms to be more human-centered and not so much about the systems and programs that we've created to solve problems, which I know are important, but like that's enough of the status quo. We need more interventions. We need more creative ways of doing business, because the business as usual is out the window. And so what kind of transformative actions can we take collectively by redesigning our systems and by shifting how we what we prioritize in our funding mechanisms or through our funding mechanisms? That will shift like a lot of things that I wish I could be more articulate in how I'm seeing it in my head. But yes, think about things that you would want to see in like your lives, your people's lives. How can we make that, how can we systematize that so that we are making we're creating something healthy and beautiful, where the oppression of homelessness and poverty and all the isms are a thing of the past, or at least that's our aspiration. So I'm going to send this out to committee members, and maybe Daniel, if you want to even put it, well, maybe we should analyze it as a committee first before we put anything up on the website. But I'm going to send it to committee members. Please take some time to reflect, dig deep, because I'm not kidding you. And everybody who knows me knows that I'm not going to, I can't shut up about it, because it's so exciting to me, and I see so much potential for humanity if we all leaned into it a little bit. you know, the well-being framework and what that means for people, for sustainability, for the world. Yeah, so that I'll get off my soapbox now, but I'm gonna share a document with you. Hopefully it'll prompt some ideas for how we can shift the course of history.
Tamara,
And
thank you.
that is all. The Wellbeing Framework, go check out the Wellbeing Blueprint by Full Frame Initiative. Those 6 principles are what I consider to be the perfect roadmap for systems change. It may resonate with you and may not, but I want to hear all feedback. So yeah, that's my message in advance of our next public meeting. And Daniel, I think I have everybody's email, so never mind. I'll send that out after the meeting.
And I can make sure that you have all the committee members' emails too.
Awesome.
I think I sent one out that wasn't active anymore. So let me double check that too. And I just, Tamara, thank you for this. Tamara's been pushing and being the lead in this. Really, the action step here is defining a metric that is less quantitative and more qualitative in nature. So more about the experience. And we have an opportunity here to potentially add some language in the way that we collect data to measure the well-being of individuals who are engaging and going through our homeless emergency response system and getting that feedback, and then ultimately using that metric to improve service delivery. So thank you so much. Herculean effort, Tamara, a lot of details. Thank you for holding all that. Really, really appreciate it. Well, with that, everybody, that ending a little bit early, which is a surprise. I don't think that's happened in months. It's 3:41. I want to thank all the committee members, the Bitfocus team, and members of the community who are here today to be part of this committee. Thank you for advancing forward. Elizabeth, hi, good to see you. Advancing forward the inventory management language to the COC, and more to come on the policies and procedures for agency onboarding. So please be on the lookout for that, committee members, as we refine and work on that over this next month as we go to the August meeting. And then Tamara, of course, thank you again for keeping us focused on the well-being blueprint. Appreciate everybody. If there's anything that you have follow-up questions on, please feel free to email the co-chairs or myself directly. Oh, also, thank you, Alex, for supporting the committee today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. And also my email, just in case anybody needs it. I guess I could just put it in the chat, or I could just tell it's AC-R Romero, ROMERO @kcrha.org. Just in case any of the public need it for the cross-cutting policy work group info.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Keep doing the good work, and I appreciate your presence here at the committee and all of your input. Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Bye.